Have you ever been so frustrated you feel like spanking your child? Feel like the only way your child will learn is with a good spanking? Well, today I would like my viewers to focus on this one question. Should you use spanking as a form of punishment for your child? Hello, my name is Kim Correia, and today I would like to discuss the importance of why spanking is not a good form of punishment. One of the most frequently used strategies to discipline a child, especially a younger child, is spanking. About 94% of parents of children ages 3 to 4 in the United States report having spanked their child in the previous year. The more children are spanked, the more likely they are to defy their parents and experience antisocial behaviors, aggression, mental health problems, and cognitive difficulties. Spanking causes similar emotional and developmental harm as abuse to children. Children spanked frequently and or severely are at a high risk for mental health problems ranging from anxiety and depression to alcohol and drug abuse. Children whose parents hit them regularly may also develop more distant parent-child relationships later on. The American Academy of Pediatrics strongly opposes striking a child for any reason, and spanking is never recommended. Research shows that spanking does more harm than good, says physical punishment actually alters the brain, not only in an I'm traumatized kind of way, but also in I literally have less gray matter in my brain kind of way. The use of corporal punishment is linked to negative outcomes for children and may be indicative to ineffective parenting. Children who are spanked regularly are more likely to be aggressive, both as a child and as an adult. If you believe that beating, hitting, or slapping your children and then smothering things over gradually by smoothing them with love, you're mistaken. You'll be hard-pressed to find any large-scale research that shows spanking to be effective in changing behaviors and having no negative effects. There is evidence of increased incidence of regression among children who are regularly spanked, and that corporal punishment is damaging to children. The gray matter we've been spanking out of them is the key to the brain's ability to learn self-control. Positive child outcomes are more likely when parents refrain from using spanking and other physical punishments, and instead discipline their children through communication that is firm, reasoned, and nurturing. Indeed, much of the aggressive behavior attributed to children who are spanked differently tends to correspond to interactions where violence is used to exert power over another person, and that research literature shows that mild forms of corporate punishment are risk factors for more severe forms of physical abuse. So why do adults hit children? The goal is typically the same: to correct or to punish a child's behavior by causing physical pain. Plenty of research exists that highlights the negative effects of spanking, and yet 81% of Americans believe spanking is an acceptable form of punishment. The gray matter you have in the decision-making, thought processing part of your brain, the better your ability to evaluate rewards and consequences. When parents use physical punishment, they do so not because they think it's good child-rearing strategy, but perhaps because they are angry, and they take those feelings out on the child in the heat of the moment. Children respond differently to forms of punishment, even kids who grew up in the same home. Research found children who were regularly spanked and had less gray matter in certain areas of the prefrontal cortex that have been linked to the depression, addiction, and other mental health disorders. Let's think about this for a moment. Being very warm with a child whom you hit in this manner rarely makes things better. It can actually make matters worse. It can make a child more, not less, anxious. Discipline should never be motivated by anger or meant to isolate feelings of shame or guilt. Parental love rarely completely repairs the damage, even when physical punishment is relatively slight. This is largely true across a diverse set of nations. Research shows that spanking does not change short or long-term behavior. Children may learn to associate violence with power or getting one's own way. Perhaps the most compelling lesson for research is that no one has found evidence that corporal punishment is good for children, and there is also other ways to produce desired effects in children's behaviors. What are some of those alternative discipline techniques that parents can try instead of spanking? If you feel you've run out of your options of changing your child's behavior, first make sure the expectations are appropriate for the developmental stages. Praise or consequence need to happen immediately every time the behavior occurs. If you tell your child not to do something and they continue, move your child or change the situation so they cannot continue with what they were doing. Pay a lot of attention to them when they are behaving as you like, a little when they are not. Stay calm, be consistent, and use natural consequences as much as possible. Save your loud, stern voice and use redirection for a few of the behaviors you most want to stop. Studies find that this type of discipline can foster positive psychological outcomes such as high self-esteem and cooperation with others, as well as improved achievement in school. Continue to love your children and provide a warm and caring home for them. All kids need that. I'd like to thank you. Here are the resources. The Attitude Toward Spanking, Child 10s, by Sarah Kovacs, special to CNN, Effects of Spanking on Kids' Brains. Emily Cuddy and Richard Reeves, Hitting Kids, American Parenting and Physical Punishment. Hitting a Child, The Damage and How a Mother's Warmth Worsens the Impact. And Spanking, Pros and Cons. Thank you so much.